Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Recruitment Forum. Some housekeeping notes, including staying on mute when you're not speaking. Also, if you have any questions, you could type them in the chat throughout the session. The session will end at 11:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. Our moderators today are Kirsten Cunningham from the University of West Alabama, Lauren Finley from Jacksonville State University, and Patrick Frazier from Western Carolina University. Thank you.
And thank you everyone for joining us today. What we're here for is this recruitment forum. What we are going to do is it's going to be kind of a roundtable open discussion. We have a couple questions that have already been submitted to us, but if you have questions that you would like answered, feel free to go ahead and drop those in the chat. We'll give you all a couple minutes so we can look those over and kind of feel free to discuss, dialogue. If you have something to say, just unmute yourself and we'll go from there. So my name's Kirsten Cunningham. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions here at the University of West Alabama. We are a smaller school located in the western part of Alabama. Here I've been in admissions field for around 6 years now. So our first question was, how have you all adopted recruitment events during the pandemic? So here on our campus, we are able to have some in-person recruitment events, and some more recruitment events are more virtual based, whether that's via Zoom, similar to how we're doing this conference, or where we're having to set up things like virtual reality for students as well. What are you all doing on some of your campuses?
Kirsten, I'll share.
Okay, sure.
Here at Jacksonville State University, which is in Northeast Alabama, we're a four-year public regional school with about 2,000 students. We're very similar to UWA in the fact that we're kind of hybrid. We do allow students on campus, but we're supplementing everything that we're doing virtually. But we've added a lot of virtual events that we've never hosted on campus just because of the cost savings aspect, that we're able to accomplish some events that, we never would have been able to host on campus just because of the budget limitation. And one of those things that is really interesting that we've done is a students tell all, where our current students basically lead the virtual session and they talk about different topics. That's been really popular, and it's open to any of our prospective students. But we're also dipping our toes back into on campus with events that are a little bit more on the small scale, like our transfer day that we're having actually this Sunday. Our campus is starting a spring football schedule, so we are having students come on campus and they get free tickets to the football game. But it's just a smaller group in a very large space that we can allow social distancing, and it can be safe. So those are just some of the things that we're doing at JSU.
Okay, I see a question here. Has anyone tried an Instagram Live event? I know on our campus, we have done both Facebook and Instagram Live kind of story events where we'll talk to students about their next step. Those are kind of geared towards admitted students, but we've also had some with financial aid based questions as well. They've been kind of hit or miss as far as the amount of people that are joining those events. I know a lot of people are going through virtual schooling, so a lot of people are honestly, we've experienced kind of tired of looking at a phone, interacting with people, but that's kind of the new normal. We've also noticed where we're like Lauren at JSU, where they're creating newer events that they may have never been able to do on campus, that we are doing some virtual events that we're probably going to continue to do post-pandemic world, because it makes it a lot easier. Things such as dedicated times where each of our colleges or majors are having virtual recruitment sessions where they're able to Zoom in with a classroom or Zoom in with students later in the afternoon to just make it more accessible
So I'll share what we're doing at Western Carolina University. We're a mid-sized public university in the mountains of North Carolina. We've transitioned to some of our recruitment events online, such as our honors events that in the past included meals for guests and things of that nature. However, we've also found creative ways to have on-campus events for our prospective students. We've been offering campus tours since September and are offering them all spring at reduced capacities and with electronic devices to allow for social distancing throughout the campus tours. We also have had on-campus open house events, but we took the traditional model of an open house event and moved it outdoors and moved it under tents. And so our open house events that we're currently having, we did 2 in the fall and we're doing 1 next month, has 60 tents outside as guests make a lap around campus and then get in their cars and leave afterwards. So we're finding creative ways to continue in-person events, but allowing social distancing and all of the different guidelines that we need to follow so that guests can still see campus.
Okay. Does anyone else have any input that they would like to add on recruitment events during the pandemic? Okay, great question here.
From Aiken Technical College. We are a small technical college in South Carolina. For us, we've been partnering with our high school counselors like we have in the past because they moved to what they call an AB schedule. And so we just had to get creative. Of course, making sure we're protected when we go out, but get creative in how we reach all of the students because some are virtual, some are still attending on campus, but then they're on a 2-day schedule. So that makes us have to, like for this week, we're doing what we call instant decision day. So we're having to have 3 events instead of the 1 visit to the high school. We're having 2 visits to the high school and a virtual component to try to capture all the students we see in 1 visit. So it's requiring us to really get creative with our scheduling more so than delivery. We have tried the webinars for the high school students. It works almost not at all. And for the adult population, again, you're right. We get some interest, but not a lot. But we have to keep doing what we can do to reach everyone and be where they are so that we can interact with them at the same level to try to get our numbers where they need to be.
Okay. A question that was posed in the chat was, what types of electronics for social distancing are we using in tours?
So the device, one of the electronic devices that we're using, it's called Vox Communications. It's audio transmitting and receiving devices. Our tour guides wear the transmitter with a microphone, and then the guests wear the receiving devices. And then one of our giveaway items that we're giving all guests are headphones that they get to keep after the tour. And it also makes sure that we're not having to clean headphones and everything after event. So then they use the headphones for the receiver. As long as they are within, I believe it's about a 150-yard range of the tour guide, they can hear whatever the tour guide is saying as though they were standing right next to the person. So anytime we have more than 2 families on a tour, our tour guides are wearing those devices and our guests are getting those receiving devices so that we can maintain social distancing for our tours and they don't have to worry about being too loud and disruptive as we walk around campus.
We have a similar experience with tours, but we kind of transitioned it more to a self-guided tour as well, to where anyone can download our UWA app and they're able to actually take themselves on a tour. If we have a large group, they can actually click on each individual spot, whether they're on campus or off campus, and listen to the audio that's narrated by a campus stakeholder, whether that's a tour guide or university president, or faculty, staff, students, or alumni as well. We've seen actually some great results on that. Okay, we had someone that would like to hear more about drive-up events. If anybody has any information they would like to share if they're doing those on campuses.
Hi, this is Keela Cersei with Southwest Tennessee Community College in Memphis, Tennessee. I mentioned that we have done some drive-up events for our new students, well, all students. And what it involved is we had the students park in their vehicles about, the distancing, social distancing. And we had representatives from each department, admissions, financial aid, and they were there and present to assist the student with whatever issue or concern they may have had as it relates to getting completed and registered for school. So it was very successful. We even were able to provide food for them coming out. I think we had a live DJ. We had I think the superintendent of Memphis City Schools was present. So it was very, our president was there. It was a success. We did turn around a lot of students and complete the application process and admissions and got them moved forward. So we are slated to have some more of those events coming up at our campus. We will be a little bit more, I think, indoors with the weather being the way that it is. We just got out of the snowstorm. So I think that we're gonna figure out a way to do more indoor events than the outdoor, because that was going into the fall session, so it was a little warmer outside. So, but it worked.
Does anyone else have any comments? All right, well, we'll go to Patrick with our next question on recruitment events on and off campus during the COVID world.
And we've touched on this a little bit. One of the questions was, what type of recruitment events on campus and off campus are you doing in the COVID world? Are you able to travel to do recruitment events that you might have traveled to do in the past? And I'm not talking necessarily college fairs in that sense, but if you had regional university recruitment events, are you still able to do those? Are you modifying those or kind of adding them to your recruitment repertoire of things? How has things changed for you in those? I know that online is a piece and people are doing online, but what are you doing outside of the online for recruitment?
Well, I can speak to similar to what we're doing here at West. We definitely do appreciate our normal receptions we normally have around this time of year. They've had to change as far as being able to walk into a banquet hall room full of students, have our professors and faculty members come in and discuss and talk with students about their future. That's shifted as to more, we're doing kind of drop-in visits where we are dropping off items at these schools if the students are in school there, answering a couple of their questions and then leaving instead of having our large scale events. We do still invite counselors and other kind of stakeholders to different events, whether that's a nice lunch or we're doing a virtual lunch with those students where we send them out gift cards so they get lunch and we all hop on a Zoom at a time and sit and eat and discuss what the future may be or whatever needs that their students may have.
Patrick, I'll mention this since you brought up college fairs. Our state SACRAO organization is in the process of planning drive-through college fairs for the spring. So we will have 10 fairs in our districts that are at, pretty central locations where our students will be able to come and drive through and get information just like they would at a college fair. This is obviously very different. We tried virtual in the fall as part of our organization, but it just was not very effective. So we're going with the drive-through route. And it's almost even a test run for fall 2021, knowing that we may not be able to have traditional college fairs even at that point. So drive-through is definitely interesting, I think, to try to get something in person, but still be pretty safe, just like you would be, much more safe than you would be at a regular college fair.
Anyone else have any? Let's see here. We did have one question. What does recruitment for transfer students look like for your campus? I will speak for us at WCU. Right now, transfer recruitment not necessarily hasn't changed much, but we haven't really modified it much. We invite them to our open house event, but we in the past have not done anything transfer specific recruitment wise, and so we haven't made any changes to that. We are offering some online recruitment events that are geared towards transfer students, but we were already doing some of those in the past. At least that's how we're doing it at WCU.
We have a similar situation here at UWA. Our transfer recruitment kind of runs, for the most part, parallel to our first-time freshman student recruitments. We still have transfer recruiters that go to different community colleges where they're able to get in and set up and speak with students. We're also utilizing a lot more of those virtual experiences as well. If we're able to have preview days, we still have transfer-specific preview days, but we also have geared our transfer recruitment virtual sessions to those afternoons where we're able to reach more of those adult learners. Anyone else have anything they would like to add on recruitment events? All right, I think Lauren's going to bring us our next topic.
All right, and I'm going to go off script a little bit because just talking about these events has brought up just a thought. I think so much of what we do as an office right now is adjusting our communication for our students. That was especially true in March and April. We just had to send out so much communication. So as we are adjusting our communication about events and just different things for students to consider, like our changing policies, I'm curious how all of your offices are balancing that with the communication changes that have to be added into your CRM, because so many of your events are different and how you've adjusted to that, or if you have like a specific person maybe that does that in your office. I'll just say, I'll expand, because for JSU, we've had to obviously create all of the virtual communication to students. We've had to put in reminders and post and pre-event communication and surveys and different things like that. And it's definitely been a huge undertaking to do that in a pretty small office. And so what we've been able to do is still utilize our CRM and our website just to communicate as much as we can. But also, just have a team of people that we went through some training with to make sure that we had multiple hands assisting us, because again, it's just constant changes. So I just wanted to kind of get a pulse check on how your offices are dealing with that, because that is a huge piece of our recruitment, is to make sure students are getting the updated information and as much clarity, because they're not maybe getting that support in their high school. But it's a huge undertaking, obviously, to get all of your information updated or even created.
Lauren, I know that here at Southwest, we set up a Southwest Facebook page and a Southwest Instagram page. We were in discussion about TikTok, but we learned that the students want a very quick and fast overview, basically, of the recruitment process, of what needs to be done, like dot application, dot transcript, dot financial aid. They don't like the long. We were sending out pretty much a brochure of information initially via email, and they were like, that's too much information to read. So we're looking at, we loaded videos on Facebook, on the Facebook page, that gave some instruction and showed We use some of our student ambassadors to show students where the campus is, where they need to go, how to log into FAFSA, how to log in and do their application, things of that nature. So that really helped a bit. But yeah, so I would say social media, because that's where they are. We also implemented Signalvine, which is a two-way texting system where we can text the students. And that has been very helpful with getting in contact and keeping the students engaged.
Thank you. And I see in the chat that Allison from Arkansas Tech just commented that they use Mongoose for texting. We also use that at JSU. I know a lot of schools are using Mongoose, and they have come out with a new, I guess, feature that basically allows for some automation. If you put in a specific emoji or a specific word, you can have direct automation back to the students. And that's really helped us because we have had to increase our texting so much. So that if you have the opportunity to explore Mongoose, I would look into that because it allows us to use our resources towards more personalized text messaging once those automatic communications can go out.
We've also implemented or are implementing a chatbot feature for our website. So a lot of those COVID questions or those policy change questions are going to be built right in to where students do feel as if they're reaching someone as a person, but they're also getting information a lot more quickly than waiting on someone to respond to an email or answer a phone call. It's almost instantaneous. But back to your question, Lauren, about communications as well. We're fortunate enough to have an in-house person that helps manage and craft a lot of our communication plans. So when COVID hit, it was a huge undertaking, but we were able to do it pretty much in-house with some upper level supervision to kind of help us craft those messages and narratives to get those to the right people when they needed that information.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely been a huge undertaking. We're fortunate to have an intern that's unpaid that is through our communication department helping us with content and just a team of a few senior level admissions counselors that are helping build out that communication. But I just think it kind of shows that if you're going into a virtual event, you just need to make sure that you're promoting it and providing the communication that you would for any kind of an on-campus event so that it can be as effective as possible. We've seen our attendance rates improve with adding some additional communication than when we, I guess, initially started that process.
One pre-submitted question was, how can we help support 2020 grads who may not have enrolled in college in the fall? Does anyone have any insight? Is anyone doing any direct communications with these students that you may have had in your funnel that have fallen out when they didn't enroll in the fall?
Our marketing team has been doing a specific campaign to reach those students, as well as, again, we're interfacing with our counselors to connect with them. A lot of times the students, their former students, will reach out to them to us through them, and so that has helped a lot too. But we are doing a targeted campaign to try to capture those students as well as the ones who will be graduating in May.
Okay. Did anyone seem to have students that may have decided that they were gung-ho coming to school in the fall of 20 and then decided that I'll just defer to spring 21? I know we normally have those few students, and just to be completely honest, we think a lot of those students just tell us that and then cancel their application later because they don't want it to be a hard no then. We've actually seen an uptick in those students that said they wanted to start in spring 21 actually follow through and become students. We're also deciding, we've decided to reach back out to some of those students as well via email, just one email and a phone call. So we're not hounding students, but we are communicating with them. And I definitely suggest everyone reach back out to those students that may have fallen out of their funnel.
I'll share a little bit about JSU. We have student tracker through the National Student Clearinghouse, and we were able to get our list of students that did not attend anywhere else. And so we were able to re-import them into our CRM as prospects to continue to reach out to. And that's allowed us to have some communication plans going to them that are specific. Specifically, we're having an event for them about now it's your time to come back to college. Some of them did come in the spring. We had a really strong increase in spring enrollment for freshmen. But the number that we saw that chose not to attend to go anywhere was really significantly large. And so that's obviously an area we want to continue to reach out to. And obviously, like Mr. Shapiro was talking this morning, I think all of us can agree that we don't want to see those students miss out on college in general. And that's an unfortunate side effect of this pandemic. So I'd love to hear anyone else's thoughts on how we can interact with those students who have really kind of seemed to fallen off our radar.
So it looks like we have a good discussion going on in the chat around this topic right now. And we'll keep that discussion going on there, but Kirsten, if you want to go on to our next question.
Yes, our next one is, how do we leverage faculty participation in student recruitment? I know when everyone's out fighting for students, trying to get as many people at their institutions as possible, what are you all doing to leverage faculty help and involvement? I know here at UWA, we're starting to create more of a culture to where it's everyone's job to recruit, starting top down. We'll see our president, Dr. Tucker, he'll be on the road many times going to schools, meeting with school system superintendents, meeting with principals, counselors, even attends our in-person recruiting events. But how do you engage and kind of mind the gap and help faculty members realize that basically if they don't have seats in their classrooms, they don't have jobs as well to help them recruit?
Kirsten, that's been my message since I arrived here about 5 years ago. And so I think it's catching on. My concern is that I think a lot of times we send, and this is a question for me, do you all provide like a training in advance of sending your faculty members out in what is good or best practices for recruitment, or is it just a free-for-all? Because my concern is sending folks out and then no follow-up, no understanding about closing the loop and engaging with the students and moving them through the funnel. And so I wonder if you all do, for the faculty members you're sending out, do you do some kind of recruit training on the front end?
That's actually a great question, and one that we kind of had here in our office just 2 years ago, is what do we do to help best prepare our faculty staff members? Because they can talk about their programs all day, but sometimes as far as the admissions standpoint, they do not have that information. So we provide information to those faculty and staff members. We identify across campus some that we may feel are best fit, because sometimes you have people that volunteer to go out and recruit that may not need to be the first person a student meets. There may be a good person that once they come to campus and committed, they're a great person to talk to. So we do kind of sit down and discuss, hey, this is what you need to do. If you don't know the answer to a question, just give them our card, give them a contact card, and we'll follow up with them. We have packets that we send over to all of our departments, and they also send us stuff as well. Another thing we do is we do present to our faculty and staff senate at those meetings to kind of best prepare them. They give us a list of sometimes who they would consider their departmental recruiters, and we kind of welcome them into the admissions family. We talk with them and kind of just best prepare them to go out on the road. I see Lauren says they have a training once a year that's optional. That's fantastic. I wish we did more things like that here at West.
Thank you all.
Well, I do see where there are virtual takeovers for specific programs. That's awesome. Anyone else have anything they would like to add?
I will say one struggle that we have had as we, especially with our honors event and a couple of other events that our faculty have led, that we've done the main marketing for and the registrations for their events, is sometimes if we're not a part of them, getting an attendee list back so that we know who attended and who didn't attend, so that we can modify that and be able to have follow-up communications with students. That's something that we're still trying to work through and has been a struggle with for us at times.
This is Renee from Piedmont Technical College in Greenwood, South Carolina. We do have an enrollment team where all of our academic deans with the admission staff and financial aid directors sit as part of that group. And so we share ideas, but we all, as a college, it has been adopted that we all are responsible for recruitment. It doesn't rest solely on the admissions shoulders, which is refreshing. And so they all have what we use as an Argos dashboard, which allows them to be able to pull prospects and applicants that are in the funnel. And of course, on the opposite side, they also work with their current students for retention as well. But when we go out for recruiting, we have it's a joint effort. So we ask them if they will share with us any leads of events that they get, so that we can send an admissions representative along with them so that we can close that loop. We do provide them with the inquiry card, so if they do go out, they will get that information and provide those cards back to us so that we can put that into our prospect database. We also have where one admissions counselor is assigned to each academic division so that we can keep the flow of the information between the two areas, and so that we can share ideas of what's happening on the student services side, but then also can hear any new and upcoming things that are happening on the academic side. So that's also been helpful. But I think it's just a concerted effort that starts from the top down, that basically everyone owns the process. Everyone's responsible for recruiting. And so we just had some new deans come in, and they're actually coming in with the mindset of, hey, I've got some great ideas. How can we work together and carry out some of those initiatives? So it's been very supportive here that we join efforts in making sure that we recruit, but then also that we kind of close the loop on those that we receive.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have any input? All right. Patrick, do you have our next topic?
I do, and our previous one kind of leads into the next one. As you know, as we've discussed with online events, and some of this has kind of been touched on at different points in our conversation, but do you feel that your online recruitment efforts are leading to the same results as your in-person efforts? Are you getting the same engagement from students? Or do you feel like you're getting the same number of applications and accepts and commitments and so forth from students? And if not, what do you feel needs to change? And if you are, what do you feel that is kind of helping drive that engagement? I will say for us at WCU, we haven't really felt a big benefit so far of the online engagement. I mean, we're seeing some engagement and being able to connect with people without making the drive. But for the population of students that typically attend and enroll at our school, they're still wanting to at least see the campus. And so we're seeing some engagement, and we're seeing acceptance and application numbers that kind of reflect it, but the commitment from those students is lacking in a lot of times until they actually see campus in person.
Patrick, oh, sorry.
You can go ahead, Lauren. You can go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to bring up something Angela noted in the chat, which I think is just really important for all of us to touch on, is how she thinks it's really difficult when these students have so much going on in their lives right now. So the issue is really just motivation, I think, on their part. Not that they lack it, not like it's their fault necessarily that they're lacking it. They just don't have, I think the mental health concerns of like how this pandemic is affecting them is maybe not being discussed as much, and maybe they don't have as many points of assistance helping them through the process as previous, especially if they're online. So I think it's just about identifying incentives to get them to make that next step. And so setting some, I don't know what the word is, but deadlines, priority deadlines, deadlines, and then maybe even offering like a free application, which we are offering actually as a state this week. We're doing free application fees. We're waiving all the application fees. So just trying to think of any kind of an incentive to get them to make that next step is our challenge.
And I was going to kind of piggyback on what Patrick was saying. It's great to have these virtual events, but it'll be even better if people showed up and took advantage of most of them. And I do think that goes with what Lauren was saying with the mental health of some of these students. They see so many things that they need to do, especially if they're virtual. They're just tired. A lot of times they just need a mental break. They need a moment of catharsis. And that's kind of where I think we kind of get into the world of, yes, we need you to follow through and do what you're supposed to do to get into school, but you also need you to take care of yourself as well.
I think for us, one way that we've been trying to adjust our communication is just identifying particular, traits that students have from their application of how we can do like an additional outreach to them. Okay. So we do ask on our application about first generation. We ask about if they have alumni in their family. And so for specific questions that are asked about that, specifically maybe to the alumni, if they do have alumni in their family, we're utilizing the alumni we have within our recruitment team, because we have an alumni recruitment team, to do some outreach to them and maybe just give them a different perspective than the ones that we're sending them on a consistent basis.
Hey, Matt Cash with the University of South Carolina, Beaufort here. So one thing that we have started doing is just to make sure that we're reaching everyone in our funnel, and especially this year's applicant pool, is we have started going back by a particular region or county, city, zip code, or anything like that, and offering individual meetings to these students. I know it's one thing to have the opportunity in your email signature or something like that, but we've been doing a lot of virtual information sessions and that type of thing, but some might have more sensitive questions that they would like to have answered in private instead of submitting to a group chat or within the confines of a larger information session. So we have started this within the past month, just kind of an individual geographic area, really drilling down with those students and offering them an individual meeting instead of just hoping that they might request such an option that we also include in our email signatures and that type of thing.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add on this topic?
Well, I will share again. This is Renee from Piedmont Tech in Greenwood, South Carolina. We have definitely seen a decline in our participation with our virtual events. I just think the students were just tired of all the virtual world. And so we created a fun day for the class of 2021 in December. And so we did see an increase. And so we probably had about 40 to 50 students. That may seem small for some, but when we went from an event to only having less than 5 students, that was significant for us. But the buy-in was us pushing things out with our guidance counselors in our high schools, because several of those schools actually pull classes, senior classes, to a room. And we basically, it was a day for them to just have fun. And so we had games that we provided. Of course, I think our incentives were giving away 3 laptops was probably a good plug. But we wanted to show them that we appreciated them and that they were still approaching, graduation, but we wanted them to have fun. And so a lot of those games were questions that we asked about the college. Did you know type facts? And so, and one of the rewards for the schools were that we would provide them breakfast. And so we actually, 2 of our schools who had a significant number of participants, we actually took breakfast the following week for the entire guidance office. So we have great support with them. And so we know that the word is out. We did a spin wheel with, we do not have an application fee. So we started off by saying you'll receive a special invitation if you submit your application between this time frame. And so all of those students were put into a spin wheel where we did the drawing. And so a lot of the names that we called, the students were not, did not participate that day. And so we know that the word got out that, hey, you could have won a laptop if you participated. So we're going to have our parent night, which is normally in person. We're going to have a virtual one this year. And so we are looking hopefully to do some of the similar things with that. And hopefully we'll see that we have a large, hopefully participation with that. We normally in person will have about 200 plus parents and students to come. So this one is going to be a little bit of a different platform, but we're going to give it a try and try some of the things that we did for the fun day with that as well.
Well, thank you all so much for those comments. Does anyone have any other questions or topics they would like to discuss before we wrap up here today?
Hey, it's Matt Cash with USCBA again. I do have a question for the group. Is anyone else having a fair amount of trouble with distinguishing in between what was once considered off-campus recruitment and on-campus recruitment? I mean, we're hosting virtual information sessions that is typically being coordinated through like our on-campus personnel that would usually be over open houses and that type of thing. But with the format of virtual off-campus events, is anyone else feeling like they're stepping on the toes of both sides of the house? And what point does really the law of diminishing marginal utility kind of factor into that, to where we just keep adding more and more to it? And or do we feel like at some point we're diluting our message in a way, or are folks seeing success with adding and continuing to add sessions?
I'll just share real quick that we have formed a recruitment events team. Usually we did kind of have that more siloed between our campus visits office and then our admissions counselors. But now we have a team of our 2 senior admissions counselors, our associate director and our assistant director of campus events, and myself. And we just have a Teams communication chat constantly. We meet weekly. And so that's really helped us stay on page, especially our weekly meeting, to just basically say, okay, this is the event that you're going to be covering. And each of our events has a lead from that team so that they are the person responsible for making sure everything is taken care of. So that's really helped us. And keeping our events short and not trying to get too in the weeds on them, has really helped too, because you're not spending as much time on those events as you typically would like an in-person event. So we can always add a little bit more to the virtual side because your time is allowing you to do that. So that's been kind of part of our success, although we're still very much learning ourselves.
Wonderful. Does anyone have anything else? If not, thank you all so much for joining us for this session today. Thank you all for your input. I know everything's been beneficial. I know it's great also to be able to discuss with your peers a lot of the things and to see that we're kind of all in this situation together.
Thank you. And I wanted to just mention real quick, I'm going to put my email in the chat. I'm sure Kirsten and Patrick could do the same if you'll have any follow-up questions for us. And then if you want to share your own emails as well, especially for those of you who have shared and presented today, that would be very helpful so that we can continue our conversation.
Thank you everyone for your time today, and hope everyone has a great remainder of their SACRAO conference. Don't forget that the town hall is coming up shortly, and then we have the business meeting tomorrow as well, in addition to all the other sessions that are taking place between today and tomorrow. So look forward to seeing everyone in those different sessions and hope everyone has a great day.
Same to you.